I grew up in New Mexico. It is part of the United States. And one summer in 1998, I was 14 years old, and I went to spend the summer with my sister, who is about 9 years older than me. And I spent a month there, July, June. Spent a lot of time outdoors, camping, frolicking in the woods, and going on skiing trips or I don't know, stuff on boats with like the big donuts in the back, whatever that's called. And I remember at one point I got really sunburned. I don't know if you can imagine it, but I was a lot whiter then. This is me with an okay tan. And so I had to spend several days indoors. I spent like 3 or 4 days in the guest room with like the air conditioning on, and I watched a real world marathon on MTV. I remember watching Steven run up to the car, this Real World Seattle, 1998. He runs up to the car and he like taps on it and he opens the door and he slaps Irene after she told him that they couldn't be married because he was a homosexual. And he got offended, which makes me think he wasn't a homosexual. Unless he was really sensitive about it. Anyway. So that began my obsession with reality TV. I had a hard time connecting with people for a really long time. I kind of felt like I wasn't a human or I was a robot or something like that. And so I watched reality TV to see how real people reacted in the real world, So I was like, how do people date? Like, how do they tell each other that they like each other? Like, how do people start conversations? How do they make friends? Eventually it turned into, I just liked watching those transformation stories, like The Biggest Loser. People are running and doing all these competitions and then they lose a whole bunch of weight. But then they penalize the people who don't lose a whole lot of weight really quickly, which always made me really mad because it was like, that's not fair. They're all making themselves better people. Anyway. I also really liked hoarders, or like the hoarding shows. God, I love those. And it's not because I'm like, oh, look at that. That's an example of how bad my life is not. Which I get why people do that, but for me, they take these people who are in these really delicate, anxiety-driven states, and they work them through it. And so it helped me feel compassion for these people and also feel like, that could be me someday. I mean, no, it really could. After my dad died, I kept this washcloth that we had when he was in the ICU. We kept it cold and we would rub it over his forehead, and I kept that for 7 years before I was able to get rid of it. And I thought I could totally be a hoarder, for real. You give me enough things that I have emotional attachment to, I could probably fill a room. But I've had people in my life who are like, you don't need that shit, get rid of it. The other transformation stories I like are also so you think you can dance? You see these people who are really gifted dancers, and that's great, but I like the ones where you have these dancers who have absolutely no technical training, these street dancers, like the animators and all of that, and they come on this show and they're taught how to ballroom dance, how to do jazz, and how to do contemporary dancing. And they get this positive feedback and they start breaking down crying, and I love that. No, really, I do. I love it, especially when the grown men cry and they're usually black. I just love seeing them cry because it connects me to this deeper sense of empathy. But the one that I want to tell you about is Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. I remember it was a month before I turned 28 in 2012, and I was watching Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition, and there was this man who was 49 years old, and he was about to go through this year of weight loss experience. And during that time, he lost his job, his fiance, and his house, so he became completely homeless. And at this point in my life, I thought I had completely ruined my life. I had defaulted on my loans. I had only one good friend left. Both of my parents were dead, and I didn't talk to them before they died, and I felt like a complete failure. But I saw this guy in the course of a year lose more than half of his body weight, which is, that's not even the important part. He built himself back up again. He got into a healthy relationship. He got a place to live. I'm almost done. And he created a business that was thriving at the end. And so now every time I think that my life, if I made a big mistake, I think about that. I think about that 50-year-old Mike who turned his life around. And that's why I'm not so guilty about my guilty pleasure. Thanks.